How was your day today? This podcast series often begins with why questions, rooted in first principle thinking. This approach offers you diverse perspectives on various life issues. To truly embrace life, join us for this episode. Lately, I've stumbled upon numerous posts and videos with the recurring theme, children who were once exceptional. Hearing those two words, once were, truly stings. Out of curiosity, I clicked on the comment section, and there were thousands of sympathetic remarks. Friend A shared that they used to be a city-level top student for 4 consecutive years. Yet, in high school, their academic performance steadily declined. By the final year's exam, they couldn't even meet the minimum score to get into a mid-tier university. Friend B recounted how their older cousin, in his youth, was also a brilliant student, excelling throughout the commune. In the early 90s, university entrance exams were incredibly tough, yet he became the valedictorian of a medical school. However, he dropped out halfway through. People rumored that he studied too much and went insane. Now, his family has him restrained, and he lives a miserable, confined existence in a corner of their house. Many young people also shared statuses lamenting that children who were once exceptional are now gradually becoming ordinary or struggling with subjects they once prided themselves on. After hearing all this, I couldn't help but wonder, is it wrong to just be ordinary? In reality, the subjects I used to excel at, the deeper I delved, the more I realized they weren't simple at all. Knowledge is vast. Back in high school, learning English meant understanding a few tenses and grammar rules, diligently memorizing all the vocabulary in the textbook, and that was enough to score well on tests. But ever since I went to university, as someone who chose English linguistics, even as a former advanced English student in high school, I was completely overwhelmed and stunned by the sheer volume of knowledge I had to tackle in this new environment. Has anyone studying English linguistics ever felt lost while simultaneously drawing tree diagrams to analyze sentence constituents in a hierarchical structure? During a simultaneous interpretation class, I sat in the cabin, listening to the Indian speaker, taking notes, questioning the meaning of life, and quietly wiping away tears. I wouldn't dare call myself exceptional, but I believe there are certain things we need to clarify within these shared stories to both inspire and prevent negative impacts on your thoughts and behaviors. And this is precisely why is that so? Is airing this podcast episode. There would be no issue if you viewed this as a turning point to reevaluate yourselves and get back on track. However, in most of the shared comments, lamentations dominate regret, helplessness, sighing over what's already done. However, stop and ask yourself, are you truly exceptional? Is your regression due to yourself or other factors? First, let's understand what exceptional truly means. An exceptional person is usually understood as someone with outstanding talent, knowledge, or skills, creating profound impacts in their field. Being exceptional isn't just about achieving excellent results. It's also about the ability to transcend ordinary limits, open new paths, or create significant changes. Exceptional individuals often possess a broad vision, dare to confront challenges, and seek groundbreaking solutions. To name a few, we must mention exceptional individuals like Albert Einstein, the German physicist famous for his theory of relativity and foundational work in many modern scientific fields. He was not only brilliant in his expertise, but also possessed a revolutionary mindset that changed humanity's view of the universe. Or Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple, who revolutionized the industry and product design, regarded as an icon of creativity and vision for user experience design. In the field of art, we must mention Leonardo da Vinci, a polymath genius of the Renaissance. Not only was he an exceptional painter with works like the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper, but he was also a scientist, inventor, engineer, and philosopher. He is an exemplary model of creativity and a spirit of continuous learning. And there are countless self-made billionaires, genius composers, child prodigies with superhuman memories featured in The Little Big Shot. All of them are exceptional individuals. Please note that listing these great examples is, of course, not meant to belittle your achievements. This merely serves to remind you that the world out there is vast. Exceptional might still be a luxury concept that we can confidently apply to ourselves. To truly be exceptional and maintain that exceptionalism, the individuals mentioned above also required many other supporting factors, such as perseverance, educational environment, emotional intelligence, adaptability, recognizing and seizing opportunities, or even sheer luck. Exceptional individuals are those who stand on stage, bathed in the spotlight, surrounded by the enthusiastic cheers and praise of the audience. But to stand under that radiant glow is no easy feat. Discussing why a child who was once exceptional now gradually regresses and no longer progresses as before, we must consider both subjective and objective factors. The first reason to mention is that once people have an illusion about their own talents, when they become disillusioned, they easily lose the will to strive. In the past, with small achievements in hand, we declared ourselves kings, but it was merely being a king in the land of the blind. We participated in village and commune competitions, were named on the golden lists of hamlets and neighborhoods. That was an honor, of course. There must be small steps to reach the podium of glory, right? However, when people are young, they often easily develop an illusion of strength from a few grains of sand, successes. We didn't know that other villages and communes were also full of talents. Stepping out of the village pond into district, provincial, city level, national, and even international competitions, that's when the race for the truly excellent just begins. Yet, we became overconfident too soon, and so when we entered the battlefield, we were painfully disillusioned, realizing we weren't that good after all. When confidence is lost, without a strong willpower as a support, it's difficult to maintain the spirit of effort needed to develop the talents we possess. Furthermore, many talented children, when young, rely too much on their intellect, believing that because they are smart, everything is too simple to solve. As a result, they gradually neglect other important qualities and efforts. When faced with difficulties and challenges, they lack the ability to confront them persistently, thus slowly losing their advantage. Everything develops, and unforeseen things can happen. When faced with unplanned events, children with knowledge but lacking coping skills will fumble and flounder, not knowing how to deal with stress. They easily fall into panic and fear, and early failure becomes an understandable outcome for them. In Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, The Story of Success, there's a quote, "Talent can make you stand out, but practice takes you to the top." Although many of the author's arguments in this book are refuted for being one-sided, the view that diligently practicing, even for geniuses and prodigies, should not cease learning, is largely agreed upon by most people. Moreover, individuals with high IQs but low emotional intelligence, EQ, also find it difficult to sustain success. High IQ individuals often experience intense emotions and exhibit impulsive behaviors, sometimes even rushing into situations without considering the consequences. If they possess high IQ but low EQ, these individuals will struggle to cope with their own intense emotions. It can crush them, making it hard to control themselves and easily become angry. Typically, when in this state, they are likely to turn to addictive substances or unhealthy coping mechanisms for release. These individuals also often blame others, always believing they are right, trying to dominate others, and acting indifferently, uncaring about what others think. This very behavior ruptures their relationships and can eliminate other good opportunities in the future. People with high IQ but low EQ also often neglect self-care. They believe that effective work necessitates sacrificing physical and mental health, long days skipping meals, sleepless nights overworking. One has to ask, who can possibly sustain themselves when their brain and body are pushed to such extremes for extended periods? There are also some children who were brilliant in their youth but grew up to live recklessly, displaying wild behaviors completely contrary to their once impeccable image. This is entirely explainable. To maintain that model child facade, they had to live within frameworks, stifled by parental rules, not allowed to express opinions, having no voice in the family. The certificates, medals, and golden achievement lists were never what they truly desired. And what was bound to happen did. Like an overinflated balloon, negative emotions, repressed thoughts, exhaustion, and pressure, once beyond their capacity, would explode. These children grew up and began to rebel. Another reason why a child who was once very good in a certain field gradually stops shining in what they once excelled at is because that field isn't truly their passion. You might excel in some areas, but that doesn't necessarily mean you genuinely like what you're good at. Perhaps you only agreed to focus on that subject because it was your parents' requirement or due to influence from others. You might have mistakenly thought that, at that time, all you could do was study and excel in that subject. But as you grew older, delved deeper into the field, and discovered yourself, you might realize that it wasn't truly your passion. A young man, specializing in literature, switched to mathematics education, facing fierce reactions from his family. He even had to apply for a leave of absence because the major was too difficult. Yet, on graduation day at Hanoi National University of Education recently, he became the salutatorian of the entire university. Despite being a literature major who had won second prize in city-level literature competitions, his math exam scores were always excellent. That's why he dared to make such a drastic decision. He shared that his parents advised him to switch to economics, fearing low teacher salaries. But in that major, he felt he couldn't be himself. However, when he stood at the lectern, accompanying students and imparting the knowledge he had acquired in his own way, he felt truly comfortable. I think if we stubbornly pursue a field we think we're good at, but don't truly love, I bet we'll all eventually get discouraged, right? Ultimately, passion is what sustains a person after all, and aptitude becomes a powerful tool to achieve that passion. These are some reasons stemming from internal factors. What about external causes? What else contributes to a person's success? An exceptional individual might have the will to learn, constantly strive to acquire knowledge, possess adaptability in the face of all adversities, and mature in emotional intelligence, yet still fail to thrive. Why? The answer also lies in other factors: family background, developmental environment, luck, or opportunities. Successful people may appear to be entirely self-made, but in reality, they are always beneficiaries of hidden advantages, extraordinary chances, and cultural legacies that allow them to study, work hard, and perceive the world in ways others cannot. This is also reflected in the concept of moral arbitrariness by philosopher John Rawls. Specifically, many believe in from each according to his ability to each according to his need, assuming that opportunities knock equally for everyone. If they can do it, others can too, and if someone cannot, it's their own fault. This view is generally not wrong, but it's not entirely correct either. It's commendable that they possess talent, effort, willpower, and the right direction. However, when they unequivocally assert that their success is solely due to themselves, that they are self-made, and that others fail because they are unworthy, lack effort, or ability, such individuals haven't truly gained enough understanding. Because, according to this theory of moral arbitrariness, nothing a person does is entirely their inherent right. Nothing is entirely owned or decided by a person. Even physical health, mental health, and IQ necessary for engaging in labor and creative activities, being born in a peaceful country, having access to a good educational foundation, having social relationships, family, and friends, all are forms of natural endowment that people acquire without doing anything. These are morally arbitrary conditions. This perspective initially caused much controversy, as it seemed somewhat extreme, not acknowledging individual abilities. However, objectively speaking, it teaches us valuable lessons about gratitude and understanding. Roughly put, I succeeded partly because of luck, being born in a country without war, having access to modern education and technology, because I had good teachers, friends, and parents, and because of good government policies. Therefore, this success is the collective effort of society, given to me, so I also want to help society in return. I also need to mention another factor, a crude word: timing. Some people hit their stride at the right moment, unstoppable, rising like a kite in the wind. But remember, good timing is often fleeting, just a temporary instant. People often call idols who once shone brightly and stood at the peak of fame has-beens. It sounds painful, but it's the natural order of things. We will always be replaceable. The world keeps turning, and new generations of exceptional individuals will follow. What truly matters is that those who were once exceptional devoted themselves wholeheartedly to learning and contributing their intellect and talents to society. Speaking of which, I'm reminded of Sir Alex Ferguson's famous quote, "Form is temporary, class is permanent." Thus, we can affirm that exceptional individuals don't just appear and disappear. A few qualitative changes will inevitably lead to quantitative variations. I hope these insights can bring something useful and reignite the spirit of life within each of us. If you resonate with these thoughts, don't forget to follow the channel and look forward to our next podcast episode. Bye.